So how do you improve your credit score? The good news is we know exactly how a credit score is calculated. So number one, make all payments on time.
Okay, so I have to tell you a story because sometimes, like in the past, like, you know, we've been married a long time. So sometimes we'll be on vacation, and I used to have my bills mailed to my house. Now I do everything auto pay. But I used to have the bills mailed to our house, and we're on vacation, and then I come home and I'm like, oh, the credit card was due like 2 days ago. So I immediately call them up and say, hey, we've been gone. I'm so sorry, and it only happens like once a year, every other year. It's not very often. I always pay my bills on time, but this bill, it slipped by me because we were out of town. So can you please reverse the finance charges and take off the late payment fee and take off this, and I'll pay it right now. So I pay my bill right then, and I pay the full amount, and then they reverse everything. And I don't let them off the phone until they reverse it.
And so the interesting thing is I bet she saved $4,000 over our marriage of those type of bills just by calling them up and letting them know.
And I'm not afraid to call them at all.
So amounts owed as a percentage of your credit limit, pay off your debt, pay off your cards monthly, and try to eliminate your auto, student, and other debt quickly. Again, at BYU, we used to encourage the students, if they wanted to, see if they can get an increase on their credit limit. So what happens if they had a $1,000 credit limit and they were using $200, they're using 20%. Well, if they could increase that to $2,000, then they're only using 10%. And that's a way. And credit card companies are more than happy. Usually about every 6 months, they'll allow you to increase your limit if you ask them nicely.
But you don't have to use it. You just have it. Yeah. Okay.
So the length of credit. Keep your oldest accounts. New credit. Don't apply for too many cards. Back to what Sister Sudwick was talking about. Every time you apply for a new credit card, that is called a hard pull. That is a hard pull, which means it will be taken into account when they consider your credit score. How about when you look at your credit report and you pull a credit score or a credit report? Does that impact your credit? No. That's called a soft pull, and it has no impact at all.
So.
And then types of credit, just have a healthy mix. Don't have too many of the same type of cards.
Yep.
Okay. Everyone here in this class is going to have to try to get a credit report and a credit score. Okay, what should you do? We manage our assets weekly. We're working on our budget. We should manage our liabilities as well. We need to take an active role. Again, your credit report, think of it as rumors about how well you manage credit. And it's really like that.
Because it's not always true.
It's not always correct. So realize 2 billion pieces of information go into the credit reports each month. 2 billion. And because of that, are there mistakes made? Yeah. So think of it as rumors about your credit history, but it's up to you
to make sure that it's correct.
To make sure those rumors are correct.
So you'll need to go in and correct it if it's not, and then it will help your credit score too.
And I would recommend, like, every quarter you look at your credit report. It's really easy. And then if you see it's dropped, go in and try to say, hey, why did my credit score drop? Credit cards. I had a number of people say, hey, I'm an international student. Should I have a credit card? Well, you know, it depends. So what are good reasons for a credit card? Today, Sister Sudwick's, we have her brother and sister-in-law are coming out to spend some time with us. So she got some...
I bought their airplane tickets this morning, but I could only buy it with a credit card because it's hard to mail them cash or the check. Yeah. So I use my credit card.
So reservations, convenience, cash flow, and timing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. So it's kind of good because when you use your credit card, you have 25 days to pay it for interest-free money, but you have to make sure you pay it.
Yeah.
So don't use it unless you can pay it. But if you have a credit card, like then my bills are not due till the next month. Yeah. So I pay my rent with my credit card, but then I don't have to pay it till the next month.
And realize it builds your credit score generally if used wisely. Someone did some study and they found all these college students that open their credit cards. It helps about a third of the people. About a third of people it doesn't help, and it messes the credit up of a third of the people. So if you can't use those credit cards wisely, you probably shouldn't use them. What about, what, you want to do it? Oh, it's not working for me.
Oh, sorry.
What about risks of credit cards? increased spending. People will spend lots more with the credit card than they will with cash. So whenever we make big ticket purchases, we'll try not to use
We
credit
make sure
cards.
that we can pay it.
Yeah, they lose track of your spending. You just spend it. And interest and other fees up to 25% APR. That's huge. And then also, you know what? They'll charge you $50, $60, $70 for an annual fee. Plus you've got late payment fees.
Yeah, and minimum finance charges.
Yeah. So realize it obligates your future income, which is really a problem. So what's the average interest rate? I called a couple of days ago and they said the average interest rate on credit cards in the US is 24.2%. So that means every 3 years, the amount that you borrow doubles. So if you just make a minimum payment.
You'll never pay it off.
Right. And are credit card companies happy to have you never pay it off? Of course.
Because they make money.
So they're making money on you every time. So realize this is not your money. Credit card companies are not your friends. Realize sooner than later that the wise person earns interest instead of pays it. Okay, so let's create our credit plan. So how will you handle credit cards and open credit? So here's just some ideas.
For your PFP template.
So what's your vision? It can be something simple. I earn interest and not pay it. I don't know. It doesn't have to be long. What are some goals? So these are just some goals that Sister Sudwick's and I put in here. What are the things the prophet has said? Modest education, a modest home, and perhaps a first car.
You'll pay off all the credit cards monthly, and you're not going to pay credit card interest.
Yeah, we borrowed money borrowed half of our first car.
And then we pay cash.
And we paid cash ever since. What are some other strategies? Overall, hopefully you'll set some goal for you on how much you're going to save. Too many times we just spend the money and we don't think about it. The goal of a budget is not just to record your expenses. Its goal is to help you save. So you can save so you can accomplish your other goals. So does a debit card build credit? No. Actually, no, it doesn't. How about if you lose a debit card and people take money out of your account, how much are you liable for? So it $50 up to the first, I forgot, look on that card, it'll tell you. First certain period, and if it's beyond that, it's all yours. You can lose it all. So be wise. And then your credit report. We just want you to make a look at your credit report and just make sure there's no problems.
And you can also opt out of mailing lists for credit cards. How many of you get credit card applications in the mail? Especially once you get out of high school and you're in college. They all want you to get a credit card and borrow money.
So there's an opt-out form at the back. I encourage you to do that one there.
Yeah.
And then for your credit score, what you want. Again, we would hope you'd shoot for the goal of somewhere 750, 760. Dr. Sedgwick's wanted you to know the experience I had with my credit score this semester, a few years back. When I checked my score on February, I was expecting it to be quite high, but I was shocked that it was only 660. I looked through my report and found a couple of surprises. There was a collection on my account placed that I didn't know about since I hadn't received anything in the mail regarding it. I looked through some of my old paperwork to figure out what it could be, and eventually, after some work, some calls found it was from a hospital visit from 2 years earlier. I had received one bill for that visit, but nothing else ever came. Apparently, there was another bill mailed separately that I never received due to an incorrect address on file. That incorrect address got passed on to the collections, and so I never heard anything about it. In any case, I called up and paid off the bill to the collections agency. I requested that they request the collection be removed from my report, and they agreed to do so due to the problem with the mail. I thought it would take months for it to be done, but I decided to go and look at my other credit reports in April. I was surprised that the collection was completely gone from my credit reports. I went ahead and ordered another credit score. Back then, you had to order, you had to pay for the credit score, and was glad to see that it improved to 781. Though I think the removal of the collection had the biggest impact on the score, we also had made some adjustments to it, decrease my debt to credit ratio from about 20% to about 10%, This had somewhat of a positive effect on my score as well. It's okay to share this with your classes. Thanks again for the great class. Let me share one more. Elder Sudwicks, you may not remember me. I am blank. I took your class last year. I thought I would share my success story with you. When I started the class in January, my credit score was 668. Using the methods you talked about in class, my score has increased every month. And I'm happy to report that my score is now 764. So I'm over the 750 mark, finally. My credit card debt is almost paid off as well. The key to my score increases was opening another credit card that I never used, but it reduced the proportion of balances to credit limits. I also have been using your savings method, trying to save 20%, although I haven't yet saved that much in a month. And then using the saved income each month to pay off the debt. This also helps the proportion of balances to credit limits. Anyways, I was excited when I saw my score, and it made me think of you and your class, and I'm grateful that I took it and learned valuable stuff that's affecting my life. So thank you. Good luck this year.
Okay, so my takeaway is
Okay.
debt is financial bondage. Never enter into it without carefully weighing the costs.